Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the corporate world and what they are trying to tell us. Today we are diving into Beneficient's latest report, a company that seems to be dealing with some interesting share and warrant activity. So what we have here is a company, Beneficient, putting out some news around its financial results for the second quarter that just ended. This is essentially their way of telling everyone how they performed financially in the 3 months leading up to the 30th of September of 2025. It is a pretty standard move for publicly traded companies to keep investors in the loop. This report is being filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission, usually called the CC. They are the government body that keeps an eye on companies to make sure they are being honest and transparent with their financial reporting. Think of them as the referees of the financial world. Every company that reports to the CC gets its own file number. It is like a unique ID for their official paperwork. This just confirms the official name of the company. The charter is basically the company's birth certificate. Beneficient is incorporated in Nevada. Many companies choose Nevada because of its business-friendly laws. This is the company's tax ID number issued by the Internal Revenue Service. It is like a social security number for businesses. This tells us where the main command center of the company is located. It is in Dallas, Texas. Here is their main phone number in case anyone needs to call them. This is one of the main things the company has out there for people to invest in. Common stock is what most people think of when they think of owning a piece of a company. Class A means there can be other classes of stock with different rights or privileges. This is the ticker symbol for their common stock, BENF. When you look up the company on a stock market tracker, this is the code you use. Their common stock is traded on the NASDAQ, a major stock exchange. Now this is interesting. They also have warrants. Warrants function a bit like options. They give the holder the right, but not the obligation, to buy shares of the company at a set price in the future. These particular warrants seem pretty complex. They also give a right to something called Series of Convertible Preferred Stock. Preferred stock is another type of stock that usually has different rights than common stock, like getting paid dividends before common stockholders, or having a priority in getting money back if the company goes under. Convertible means it can be changed into common stock. The ticker symbol for these warrants is BENFI. These warrants are also traded on the NASDAQ. Beneficient has checked a box saying they are an emerging growth company. This means they are a newer company, and some regulatory rules for bigger, more established companies do not apply to them yet. This can give them some flexibility. They have also indicated that they are not using the extended time to adopt new accounting rules. This generally means they are ready to move on to newer accounting standards faster, which can sometimes signal confidence or a desire for standardization. This is the main section where companies talk about how they did financially. It is often when they release their earnings numbers. As mentioned before, this report is tied to a press release they put out on the 14th of November. This is where the actual financial numbers for the quarter would be detailed. Since this is a current report, the press release is the core piece of information they are sharing today regarding their performance. They also mention that this information is being furnished and not technically filed, meaning it does not carry the same weight as if it were directly in a formal filing like a 10-Q, but it is still important for understanding their recent performance. This section is all about the attachments to the report. This is the actual press release with all the financial details. It is the most important exhibit here. This is a modern way of filing financial data that makes it easier for computers to read and analyze. Think of it as making the numbers more accessible to machines. This is where the company officially signs off on the report. This indicates that Gregory W. Ezell signed the report on behalf of the company. And Gregory W. Ezell is the Chief Financial Officer, or CFO. He is the top person in charge of the company's finances. His signature means the financial information presented is what the company is officially stating. Now let's talk about what this actually means for Beneficient. The fact that they are issuing a press release about their quarterly results, especially with mentions of class of common stock and warrants, suggests they are actively managing their capital structure and communicating with investors. The most crucial part for us to understand is within that press release, Exhibit 99.1, which unfortunately isn't fully detailed in this document. However, the structure tells us this is a moment for investors to see how the company is performing. Are revenues growing? Are expenses under control? Are they making a profit or a loss? While we don't have the specific numbers from the press release here, the mention of shares and warrants tells us a few potential stories. Companies often issue warrants as part of financing deals or to incentivize investors to buy their stock. If these warrants are being exercised, it means people are buying shares at a predetermined price. This can bring in cash for the company, but it also dilutes the ownership of existing shareholders, meaning each share represents a smaller piece of the company. We would need to see the actual press release to know if there was significant warrant activity and what that meant for their cash flow and shareholder equity. Looking at the filing itself, the fact that they are an emerging growth company means they might be growing quickly, but they also might not have the most robust financial history or controls yet. This can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it means they have potential for high growth, but on the other, it might mean more volatility and less predictability. The fact this is an 8. K-filing means it is reporting a significant event. In this case, the significant event is the issuance of the press release announcing their quarterly results. This report is less about the deep dive into the financials themselves and more about the announcement of those financials. For a true financial analysis, we'd need to see the actual numbers from that press release. But the context provided here tells us about their structure, their stock and warrant trading, and their status as a developing company. So, what is my take on this? Beneficient appears to be in a phase where they are actively managing their financing and communicating their performance. The existence of both common stock and warrants suggests a strategy to raise capital or to offer incentives. As an emerging growth company, the potential for rapid growth is there, but so are the inherent risks. The key takeaway from this particular filing is not a deep financial analysis, but rather understanding that Beneficient is using standard corporate channels to inform the market about its financial health. To truly assess their direction, we would need to drill down into the actual financial results disclosed in the press release. There are no major red flags in this filing itself, but the active use of warrants and their emerging growth status mean investors should be watching for significant shifts in their financial position and shareholder structure in future reports. Alright, that is our quick breakdown of this Beneficient filing. What is your take on companies using warrants and how that impacts shareholders? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. Don't forget to check out our Discord community, linked in the description for more discussions. Thanks for watching, see you next time.